had the dream baby. Why in the world did I feel so deeply unhappy? The call was coming from inside of the house. Psychology actually has a name for the woman who loses herself in taking care of everyone but herself. And that's the shadow mother. When I became a mom for the first time, I had it all. I had the dream baby, I had the world's most supportive partner, and I had a wonderful network of friends and family to help me along my journey. So why in the world did I feel so deeply unhappy? This is one of the sneakiest things that can steal your joy in motherhood. And today I want to put you on so that you know what to look out for in your life. Because after reflecting, I realized that I'd committed the most noble sin that a person can. I tied 100% of my happiness into this teeny tiny little baby who couldn't even hold their head up yet. We're taught to believe that losing yourself and taking care of someone else is the ultimate gift. But today I'm here to dispel that myth. Because the truth is that losing yourself is really just a guarantee for resentment. Hey guys, it's Gata and welcome to my channel. This is my corner of the internet where I like to sit down and talk about feminine psychology, famous faces, and the patterns that shape the way we move through the world. If that sounds like the type of thing that you'd be interested in exploring further, I invite you to pull up a chair and join the conversation. I'd love to have you. Today is going to be a lot more casual and less scripted. I really just wanted to sit down and kiki a little bit with you guys before I dive into the nitty-gritty of the mother archetype. A quick disclaimer before we dive in today. I'm going to be talking largely about the identity shift that happens when you become a mother and how you can kind of get lost in all of that. But there are lots of other challenges that many women face as they step into this journey of their lives. Clinical conditions like postpartum depression and postpartum anxiety are very real. And if those are concerns for you, then I encourage you to speak to your healthcare provider as soon as you can. Being a mom out in this world is tough enough, and you deserve to feel your best while you're doing it. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, I would love to know, have you ever felt that ghostly feeling of motherhood? And I'm not just talking about in those crappy newborn days. I'm talking about that feeling where you're so lost in raising your little one. You're so concerned with nap schedules and feeding them correctly and what diapers to wear and what preschool they're going to that you completely lose sight of everything else. Seriously, it feels like you're moving through life and you're like a blur of who you used to be.
Because I've lost control of my life.
Maybe on the outside, everything looks beautiful and perfect. I know that was certainly my experience. And slowly this guilt started eating away at me. Like I felt like I must be the problem. I must be a bad mom because I felt incomplete in this version of my life that I dreamed of since I was a little girl. And it took me such a long time to understand why that was. If you know that guilt and shame that I'm talking about, I want to tell you confidently from the other side that this has nothing to do with regretting motherhood. It has nothing to do with your ability to parent, and it certainly has nothing to do with how much you love your child. No, this is about the sneaky trap of pouring everything that you have into somebody else and slowly, quietly losing yourself in the process. Now, I'm gonna be referring throughout this video to motherhood because it's where it's popped up the most in my life, but people from all sorts of walks of life experience the same thing. I think especially if you're in a position to care for or be responsible for someone or something else. Again, it could be a kid, but it could also be a pet. Or maybe you're in a career field where it's your job to take care of someone else, like you're a teacher or a nurse. Women in particular, especially mothers, are praised for self-sacrifice, for putting themselves on the back burners in service of somebody else. And don't get me wrong, that can certainly be a lovely thing to do in the right time and place. But the problem that a lot of people fall into, myself included, is that that becomes the norm. Somewhere along the way, we begin to believe the lie that we've been sold, that if everyone and everything around us is okay, then we're okay too. We'll just kind of fall in line and things will work out. Except it doesn't work that way. It never does. It's such a difficult place to find yourself in. I had dreamed about being a mom for my whole life, literally as long as I can remember. And so getting married and starting my family was literally a dream come true for me. It was everything I'd ever wanted and more. And so I couldn't understand as my baby was getting older why I wasn't feeling like myself anymore. And the answer to that is really simple and also kind of complicated. I stopped asking myself what it was that I wanted. And it feels like a no-duh thing to do when you have a newborn baby because, of course, their needs have to come before yours. And truly, there's no greater joy in my life than watching my child flourish and pouring into her. But during that first year of motherhood in particular, it was way too easy to fall into the trap of using that as an excuse to not pour into myself. And the resulting effects were pretty devastating to me on a personal level. I stopped asking myself what I wanted, what made me happy, what things brought me joy. And again, I have to emphasize, such a wonderful, sweet part of my life, but that was all I had going on for me at the time. And I kind of recognized at the time the need for me to take something back for myself, but it was really hard to do so. Even working out and going to the gym, something that I have always loved doing just for myself, became not about me, but about bouncing back after having my kid. I wasn't doing it because I wanted to move my body and feel good. I was doing it because I wanted to snap back. And it seems like a small distinction, but it's actually pretty major when we talk about how we prioritize ourselves. I think even emotionally and on a personal level, I was expecting myself to snap back, to be the old version of myself, but now I just had a baby on my hip. I wasn't unhappy because of my kid or my husband or from lack of support. The call was coming from inside of the house. Because while I was so busy trying to get back to that old version of me, I wasn't giving myself the space and the grace to grow and learn what me as a mom looked like. I think so many women fall into this trap of trying to get back to who they were before becoming mothers. And the painful truth is that she's gone. Becoming a parent changes you in ways that are hard to describe, but if you've ever been through it, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. Nothing about who you are and the way you see the world is the same. And so it's unfair to put that pressure on yourself to think that you can go back to who you were before. Your life has shifted. Your perspective has shifted. And it's a beautiful thing if you allow it to be. If you give yourself the space and grace to grow and to become a new version of yourself within your motherhood instead of trying to fight against it. Psychology actually has a name for the woman who loses herself in taking care of everyone but herself. And that's the shadow mother. I think of her kind of like the other mother from Coraline. On the surface, she seems fine and sugary sweet, but beneath, there's a lot more going on. Because the shadow mother is loving, and she's nurturing, and she'll give and give and give and give and give and give of herself until there's nothing left. And again, it feels like a noble thing to do. It feels like what's right. It feels like what you should be doing. Just because you have a new person or a new responsibility in your life that's super important doesn't mean you stop being important. Women who fall into this shadow trap of the mother archetype often struggle with feelings of resentment and martyrdom and unfulfillment. And why wouldn't they? They stop feeding the parts of themselves that are real and authentic and nuanced. They push their feelings and their thoughts and their desires off to the side because it feels like there's more important things I need to be worrying about. What matters to me can wait because everyone around me is more important than I am. I don't have time for that. There's too much to do. I'm sure we've all heard the cliche about not being able to pour from an empty cup, but it's really easy to convince yourself that you're the exception to that rule. And honey, you're fabulous, but I promise you, you are not. And that's okay because that's our shared human experience, right? I think that all healthy mothers have to come to that realization at some point. Because if you're constantly shouldering all of the responsibility of everyone else's care and happiness, then what's left over for you? Of course you're gonna feel invisible. Of course you're gonna feel burnt out. Of course you're gonna feel like nothing you do matters. But here's the question I want you to ask yourself. Is that the place that you want to be raising your children from? Is that the place that you want to be going into your work from? Is that the place that you want to be doing your job from? Is that the place that you would want to be caretaking for someone else? That shadow mother side becomes a poison well to everything else in your life. It may seem like it's nourishing, but at a pretty detrimental cost. If not to those around you, then to yourself. And don't ever forget that that matters too. You matter too. And if you find yourself in that place where you're starting to feel those little tinges of anger or resentment or martyrdom. I want you to hear that you're not the bad guy and you're not wrong and you are certainly not alone. I wish I would have had someone to talk to about these things when I became a mom, and that's why I'm here chatting with you guys about it today. Let me give you guys another example that I think will better highlight the difference between healthy and unhealthy motherhood. A healthy mother says, I care for you. An unhealthy mother says, I only matter if I care for you. My life revolves around you. I have nothing else, no other purpose if it's not you. Do you see that difference? And again, we're told that we're supposed to love those around us, especially our children, more than ourselves. But think about being on an airplane, right? And they give those safety demonstrations. What do they always tell parents? Put your mask on before helping your child. Because if you pass out from oxygen deprivation, who's gonna help that baby? And it's the same thing in real life, right? If you're not filling your own cup up, if you're not taking care of yourself, who can be a solid person for your child? Who's gonna show them how healthy adults move through the world if you're not prioritizing that in your life too? I'm gonna talk about this more in my next video on the topic, but kids don't just follow what you say. They emulate what you do. So I encourage you to be honest and ask yourself, what kind of an example am I setting for my kids? Am I finding joy in the challenges of parenthood? Are they just draining the life out of me? Losing yourself in your motherhood feels like a noble thing to do. People are always applauding the self-sacrificing mother who puts everything before herself. People praise you and talk about your dedication. And then you go home and the praise is gone and you realize that you are empty, just a vessel of who you used to be. You deserve so much more than that in your life. Becoming a parent is really this beautiful roller coaster of emotions. But if you're not careful, you can lose yourself along the ride. If this is what the shadow mother is, then how do we become whole again? And I'll let you in on a little secret now. It has nothing to do with loving your family or your children any less. In fact, I think one of the most loving, worthwhile things that you can do as a mother is reminding yourself who you were before anybody called you mom. That's the part of you that's going to get you through those hard days. That's the part of you that's going to make life fun and happy. That's the part of your motherhood that no one else can replicate for your child. And that's what we're gonna talk about next. If you've ever been responsible for a child or a pet or a plant or even something at work, you understand what the mother archetype is. So I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever struggled with losing yourself and taking care of someone or something else? How were you able to recognize that within yourself? And were you able to take steps to break that cycle? I'd love to hear your experiences with this down below. I'm almost out of my tea, but if you're interested in hanging out a little bit longer, I think you're really gonna enjoy the video that's on screen now. So I'll catch you over there, or I'll just see you next time. Until then, take care of yourselves. Bye guys. Let me know down below, do you like these more casual videos or do you prefer my more scripted, researched stuff? I'm open to everything and I like it all, so let me know what you guys prefer.